Roman-era authors such as Posidonius, 24, Strabo, 25, and Ptolemy, 26. The border between Asia and Europe was historically defined by European academics. 27. The Don River became unsatisfactory to northern Europeans when Peter the Great, king of the Tsardom of Russia, defeating rival claims of Sweden and the Ottoman Empire to the eastern lands, and armed resistance by the tribes of Siberia, synthesized a new Russian empire extending to the Ural Mountains and beyond. Founded in 1721, citation needed. In Sweden, 5 years after Peter's death, in 1730 Philip Johann von Strahlenberg published a new atlas proposing the Ural Mountains as the border of Asia. Tatashev announced that he had proposed the idea to von Strahlenberg. The latter had suggested the Emba River as the lower boundary. Over the next century, various proposals were made until the Ural River prevailed in the mid-19th century. The border had been moved perforce from the Black Sea to the Caspian Sea, into which the Ural River projects. 28. The border between the Black Sea and the Caspian is usually placed along the crest of the Caucasus Mountains, although it is sometimes placed further north. The border between Asia and the region of Oceania is usually placed somewhere in the Indonesia archipelago. The Maluku Islands are often considered to lie on the border of Southeast Asia, with Indonesia New Guinea, to the east of the islands, being wholly part of Oceania. The terms Southeast Asia and Oceania, devised in the 19th century, have had several vastly different geographic meanings since their inception. The chief factor in determining which islands of the Indonesian archipelago are Asian has been the location of the colonial possessions of the various empires there, not all European. Lewis and Wigan assert, the narrowing of Southeast Asia to its present boundaries was thus a gradual process. The Bering Strait and Bering Sea separate the landmasses of Asia and North America, as well as forming the international boundary between Russia and the United States. This national and continental boundary separates the Diomede Islands in the Bering Strait, with Big Diomede in Russia and Little Diomede in the United States. The Aleutian Islands are an island chain extending westward from the Alaskan Peninsula toward Russia's Komodorsky Islands and Kamchatka Peninsula. Most of them are always associated with North America, except for the westernmost Near Islands group, which is on Asia's continental shelf beyond the North Aleutians Basin and on rare occasions could be associated with Asia, which could then allow the U.S. state of Alaska as well as the United States itself to be considered a transcontinental state. The Aleutian Islands are sometimes associated with Oceania, owing to their status as remote Pacific islands, and their proximity to the Pacific Plate. 30, 31, 32. This is extremely rare, however, due to their non-tropical biogeography, as well as their inhabitants, who have historically been related to indigenous Americans. 33, 34. St. Lawrence Island in the northern Bering Sea belongs to Alaska and may be associated with either continent, but is almost always considered part of North America, as with the Rat Islands in the Aleutian chain. At their nearest points, Alaska and Russia are separated by only 4 kilometers, 2.5 miles. Geographical Asia is a cultural artifact of European conceptions of the world, beginning with the ancient Greeks, being imposed onto other cultures, an imprecise concept causing endemic contention about what it means. Asia does not exactly correspond to the cultural borders of its various types of constituents. 35. From the time of Herodotus, a minority of geographers have rejected the three-continent system, Europe, Africa, Asia, on the grounds that there is no substantial physical separation between them. 36. For example, Sir Barry Cunliffe, the emeritus professor of European archaeology at Oxford, argues that Europe has been geographically and culturally merely the western excrescence of the continent of Asia. 37. Geographically, Asia is the major eastern constituent of the continent of Eurasia, with Europe being a northwestern peninsula of the landmass. Asia, Europe and Africa make up a single continuous landmass Afro-Eurasia, except for the Suez Canal, and share a common continental shelf. Almost all of Europe and a major part of Asia sit atop the Eurasian plate, adjoined on the south by the Arabian and Indian plate and with the easternmost part of Siberia, east of the Shersky Range, on the North American plate.